This is episode 46 of Apply Now if Manuscripts Excite. That's a coded way of me begging people to apply for staff position on the anime blog where I write. You watch seasonal anime and have opinions about them that you want to express? If so, and if you wouldn't mind writing for a text blog in the year 2019, follow the link in the description to apply. Because I don't think we're going to get too many applications otherwise.
Don't sound so excited about it.
Okay. Should I redo it? But sounding like even more lackadaisical?
Lackadaisical? No, you just speak way too quietly.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure they heard me since you boost everything to absurd levels in posts anyways.
This is episode 46
of the A.N.I.M.E podcast. And now we're going to jump into it, as they say, as all those highly successful channels.
It's just one. And the rest of them are doing a take on Philip DeFranco.
Okay, well, that's really depressing to hear.
That's been his thing for like 7 years.
Anyway, I'm sure no one before him has ever said, let's get into it or let's jump in. That was his invention.
No, but
when you do it, hail Mr. Hair Gel.
When you do
Mr.
it,
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like every single day for 7 years, it's your thing.
I hope he trademarked it since it's his thing.
So your thing is being a piece of shit because you do it every day.
Oh no! All right, which one of these shows are we going to start off with?
I don't know. Which one are you actually excited to talk about?
I don't know.
Any of them?
Not really. What should we start with, though?
Then I guess let's talk about Carole.
All right. Episode 7. Coming hot off the heels of the Thundercat and Lauren Dyson performances from the festival last week. This week we have literally nothing.
Didn't you used to get on my case all the time when I would say nothing happened in an episode?
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
You said literally nothing.
But I didn't say it happens in this episode. I'm comparing the lack of musical performances in this episode, at least ones that aren't giant memes, with like dubstep grandmas and twerk artists who tell the judges on the reality show that they're auditioning for to get retarded. Compared to the Thundercat and Lauren Dyson performances, in this episode, we have literally nothing. You understand what I'm saying? It's different than copping out and saying, oh yeah, things happened or nothing happened. This is a comment on the fact that like musically this episode had nothing going on.
Just like today's music industry.
Definitely not an opinion that I share.
Today's popular music industry.
I mean, the new Carly Rae Jepsen record just came out and I'm enjoying that. Unironically? Yeah, dude, she makes really good, like synth heavy 80s throwback pop. It's good.
I'm sure. Well, her producer thanks you.
Would recommend out of 10. Yeah, I just thought this episode was kind of dumb. Like
Gus's audio is back to being shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point
it's a coin flip.
Yeah. Well, no, not a coin flip
because it's alternating.
Yeah, it alternates. So that's not a coin flip at all. Like you can predict that.
Yeah.
They auditioned for, American Idol Mars edition. And
I thought the talent section was funny.
With the
goofy, shitty performances, just like you always see on regular American Idol.
I don't know.
Like old school American Idol.
Well, I'm sure that ABC runs it now instead of Fox.
Really?
Yeah, it's still going.
Well,
like Fox canceled it and ABC was like, a yoink, we'll take that.
Doesn't ABC do The Voice now or something like that?
That's NBC.
They all run their own like dumb talent show thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I learned from a guy on YouTube who does like vocal covers and stuff like that. They actually scouted him to do it. And essentially everyone who's going to the finals it's pretty much like set before everything starts. And you have to like sign a contract with like all the different things that like they're allowed to do with you and like manipulate you. And so the people that go in front of the judges and stuff and have terrible performances, they like hype them up to be like, yeah, you're super great. They're going to love you and all that kind of stuff. And they manipulate the crap out of them before they go on there and fall flat on their face.
Wait, but I thought you said that like the people who are going to progress to the next round are already set in stone.
Right.
So then those people already know that they're not going to make it, right?
No, they don't. Because
if this is common knowledge,
it's not common knowledge.
Oh, so this is some inside information here.
Insider shit right here. Because
Wow.
I mean, Angela's getting a pass to the finals.
Yeah, but she's the only one. I mean, that we know of out of the 8, and that's the thing that's like completely unrealistic. Is out of 200,000, what's the word? Auditionees.
200 out of
applicants.
200,000 people who are auditioning, 8.
Yeah, 8 are supposed to make it, and then it's really like 7 because of Angela's seated spot.
Or maybe she'll be the 9th.
Maybe
Throw a wrench. New special guest.
Pretty sure they said she was going to be in the top 8, but yeah, Carole and Tuesday make it. We don't even see the performance that lands them the gig.
Like, all right, you ready? Yes. Commercial break.
Yeah. So I mean, it's fine that we don't see the performance. I think because we know, we know who they are, what they sound like, what kind of music they play. But their level of success, like their sudden festival performances and miraculous talk show successes. It's just like, what happened to the whole grassroots thing where they were going to play gigs for like small crowds and use social media to work their way up and stuff.
That would have taken like 6 seasons in a movie.
Well, 24 episodes is, you can use a little bit of shorthand here, a couple of time skips there, and
does this show have 24 episodes?
Yeah, it's not just 12. Excuse me.
Okay, there's a lot to go then.
Yeah. So they really don't need to be
speeding along at this pace, yeah.
Well, it's not as though the show feels like it's moving too fast from moment to moment, but like, I don't know. I would just rather than any of the stuff we're seeing now, I would rather see them trying to like exist in the city where they live on Mars.
Like going and getting jobs and
yeah, like instead of having that stuff just be relegated to the montage dimension, or like one of them like has a little crush on a guy and there's like a little side story about that, or
I mean, there's going to be a side story about that with Roddy, obviously.
Well, perhaps, yeah, but I don't know. I would just like that sort of foundational stuff to be, the foundation laid down at the start. And
Bebop didn't do that though. Bebop didn't like do like foundational stuff for its characters right from the get-go. It took like 5 or 6 episodes before we got anything.
Yeah, okay, but here's the thing. In Bebop, what the characters are trying to do is survive by, like, the way they make their living is hunting bounties.
Right.
The way that Carole and Tuesday make their living is not music. It's despite the fact that they did make a little money for being part of the festival, which Gus promptly stole and lost betting on dog racing.
Yep.
So that's not the way that they survive. I would like to see how Carole and Tuesday are surviving, how they're living their lives, going about their days.
I mean, I'd like to see stuff like that too. I agree.
So that's what Bebop was. The characters went about their lives by hunting bounties.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a completely different situation. In fact, it's different for all 3 of his road shows. Bebop, Shampoo, and Dandy. They all have that like common DNA. At times they feel like little slices of life.
And then Terror and Resonance, and then this are very different.
Yeah. Well, Terror and Resonance, I have like blocked a lot of that out of my memory. All the stuff with people complain about 5, I don't even remember that much about her. I don't even remember the terrible English.
I don't remember this show at all.
Yeah.
Like the
only scene I remember is the one where she's on the back of the guy's motorcycle, like the guy who has the brown curly hair on a motorcycle going through the city, and like some little tune is playing. You see the light on the back of his motorcycle kind of swoop through like cut through the night as he's driving. It's all cool.
Yeah. I heard the music in that show is really interesting though. Because it's still Yoko Kanno, but it's like...
was it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, I remember it being pretty good, I think.
And it was a weird style. Like it was something it wasn't like anime music.
Yeah, well, that's good, I guess. Okay, so the other major thing I wanted to talk about with this episode of Carole Tuesday was like the whole second half where, because Carole hears about Tuesday's terrible. Tuesday hears about Carol's.
Like, I was an orphan and all this. Hasn't she
talked
about it before?
Refugee camp. Yeah, but I don't know if Tuesday heard about it.
Yeah, that's possible.
I think maybe she mentioned it to somebody else. Like,
yeah, I know we've heard about it as the audience.
Well, we know that she was raised at an orphanage because we see a flashback to her time there during that episode where she's trying to get the job as the funeral mourner.
Right.
She just laughs at the butterfly on the priest's head. But yeah, I don't think Carole ever knew, or Tuesday ever knew. So then Tuesday is like, filled with white guilt or whatever. She's like, oh man, I just hate myself so much for my my like lack of conviction, whatever it is she says.
Basically, it's like I grew up in like what most people consider to be paradise.
I come from money, yeah. And I left it all behind, and I don't, I don't really feel their relationship as being particularly suited to confessions at this point. They hardly know anything about her, as evident about each other, as evidenced by the fact that this is taking Carole.
It's like, oh wait, you don't want to be on TV? Why?
Yeah, that was another weird thing, right? Like they already played this festival with tens of thousands of people.
Hundreds of thousands of people. Yes. It's just
she was not concerned at that point about being recognized, but now, I mean, TV is different but you got to assume like the festival was probably being shot by millions of people's
phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And that video of theirs that went viral online earlier.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense for her to be wearing these shades now. It's like the writers just realize.
Just like, oh crap, we forgot about that.
Yeah. I like the whole scene, where they're sitting on that bench by the river, and she's like, oh man, I'm just feeling really down. And Carole's like, hey, turn that frown upside down.
Let's learn a secret handshake, like those rappers do. Convenient black man teaches them a secret handshake.
Oh yeah.
I just went, Okay.
Did you notice that Idea made a reappearance?
Yes, I did. He was the singing robot.
Yeah. Good old Idea.
I feel like we'll see him a few more times, I think.
Maybe.
And we get like Angela was like abused as a child or something.
Yeah, by her mother / father.
Right.
We still don't know the full story about like her mother's weird androgyny.
It's the future. Accept it.
I mean, I accept it, but I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Like in that photo, that's apparently her mother.
Right.
That male or
that question mark.
Yeah, it looks like a man. Looks like he could be her father, but instead that's her mother.
Is the proper term?
I don't really get. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I don't really get it. What's going on there? But yes, Angela, she's allied herself with Tao, the AI guy, and then she's alienated herself from her family, so she's in a dark place. There's that little moody section of the episode where she kind of goes back to her apartment and just lays down on the couch, like
and tells her like little annoying pet, just like leave me alone. Angela.
Oh Angela. Yeah, that thing is. Can
you imagine if that was?
It reminds me of a Noyotron from Hearthstone.
Yeah. Hello. Can you imagine if you had it's supposed to emulate like a small dog barking, but can you imagine if a small dog just said your name over and over every time it barked? Would that be the world's most annoying thing or the second most?
I don't know, man. So I mean, what did you think of the Riverside scene between the two girls?
it didn't really feel like organic. It didn't feel like a real conversation that two people would have.
Do you remember any details about it? Because all I remember is being like, I don't really.
It felt like an
really
anime confession.
Well, yeah, but like, what was said exactly? What does Tuesday say about,
Tuesday's like, my mom's a politician. Carole's like, man, politicians suck. Tuesday says, I know, right?
Yeah, but like, what was the reason for her feeling so down? She learns this thing about Tuesday that
she's like, it's like I realized like we've been playing music together and living together for a while, but I barely know anything about you.
Yeah, but I don't know. There was something else in the conversation that I'm trying to get at that I just don't remember very well.
And what's interesting to me is like I barely know anything about you, and then she proceeds to ask 0 questions about her. Like, hey, let's get to that.
Well, now that she knows that she was in an orphanage and shit, that's enough.
Is it?
The quota has been fulfilled. The backstory has been delivered.
Don't worry, we'll get the flashback episode in a few more episodes.
Bring it on. I'm ready.
Bring it on.
But first we have to see the results of this, this X Factor, American Idol, The Voice Got Talent thing.
Right.
Mars Brightest.
That's what it's called.
That's going to, and Angela's going to be on it too. So finally their stories are going to connect. Finally.
What I thought was weird is they had all those people show up in one area for them to do the auditions for. And we only ever saw 3 judges, but there were like 4 trailers that people were performing in. Are there 4 sets of judges or are they all robots?
I don't know, man. I thought the judges were like really, their designs were really boring and they hardly spoke at all.
Yeah, they only spoke to Carole and Tuesday.
Yeah, so they didn't. I mean, I felt as though that whole section was lacking in personality. All of their reactions to like the meme contestants were just so similar, so reserved. Yeah, like they were just slapping their foreheads and like curling their lips.
It was like awkward faces and
yeah, that's why I didn't really like that part very much.
I thought the performances were funny though.
But the judges killed it for me.
Yeah, I can understand that. Speaking of killing it, One Punch Man kills things.
I mean, I think in terms of, if you look at this season on the whole so far, I think this episode kind of killed it.
Yeah.
And that it wasn't, I didn't hate it.
No, I liked this episode.
Excuse me. I mean, it helped that it was mostly set in one location.
Yeah, it only did 1 recap. Technically 2.
Putting aside the recap, I mean, just wasn't cutting between like a bunch of random, shitty,
like 6 or 7 different things
about.
Happening.
Yeah, we were mostly in the martial arts arena. A couple exceptions, just very brief ones. And so we were, even the theme of like, trying to keep hope alive in dark
times.
Circumstances. Yeah, even that theme was like delivered on by the episode. Now that being said, that's really boring. Put your faith in heroes. Always have faith and look for the faint light in the dark times. I've seen it. I've heard it. 100 times before. So that's pretty bog standard.
Yeah.
But at least the episode wasn't like a completely confused
mess.
Yeah, like botch job. So,
yeah,
it gets to where it needs to go by the end, which is Siryu, like the breaking down of his whole, I'm only in this for myself. I just do this for like my own enjoyment and my own pleasure.
He's never run into anyone more powerful than himself and then gets BTFO'd by this dude.
Yeah, that was my favorite. My favorite part of the whole episode was when Bakuzan, he eats the monster cells and later on he transforms into the monster. That scene where like Siryu is trying to jump into the air to escape and Bakuzan goes, he jumps up in the air and does the double fist thing and slams him into the ground. I was like, oh shit, that looked pretty good.
Yeah.
That was my favorite cut of the episode. How did you like this one?
I like this episode. We saw a couple people who were just immediately like, I'll save myself by eating whatever this random pulsing mass of flesh is.
And why not? They're just cartoons, so
Obviously,
what's the worst that could happen?
They turn them into monsters, and based on how strong you are, you turn into a stronger monster.
Yeah.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine how powerful Tsoryu would have been.
Imagine how powerful Saitama would be. I assume that's their entire like that might be their big end game. You know how they're going on and on about how like the promised day has not arrived. Maybe the goal is get Saitama to eat a monster cell. That could be their like ultimate plan.
He could probably just break the world in half at that point.
Yeah, maybe that's just their goal is take the most powerful human, and in the process of converting him into a monster, you like double your gains in that case, because you're removing the number one obstacle to your
removing
world
the number
domination
one obstacle and gaining the most powerful ally possible.
Right.
I don't know. We don't seem to have a clear goal from the monsters other than the monsters want to rule the earth.
Well, yeah, that's mentioned at several points throughout this episode. They just like violence is just one of their tendencies. So that's something they enjoy, is just, like going out and killing people and creating carnage.
They're anarchists,
I guess, yeah. Whereas the heroes represent
capitalism,
societal normalcy. Just everything being safe for all the, the Joe Bobs and the Mary Janes of the world.
Yeah.
The normal people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Also, there was, what's his name? Garo?
Yeah, he wants to fight Watchdog Man.
Yeah, and Watchdog Man is apparently incredibly powerful.
Well, he's an S-class hero.
Yeah, I do like how we see it's like all those monsters showed up and then he took care of them. And just, here's him. Now he's sitting on a pile of monsters. Like, all right, so don't show us that. That's fine.
Yeah, at least that was funny though. Like the whole thing with Genos' fight with what's his face being omitted.
Right.
That's kind of disappointing. But he's a man in a dog suit, so it's funny if we don't see the fight and instead we just see a dog suit man sitting on a pile of monster corpses.
Yeah, and then he very briefly fights Garo.
Yeah, that was one of the worst parts of the episode. Like his attack on Garo just being represented by a little flash of light that kind of travels around the screen, and then it cuts to Garo, and we literally just have like a little yellow thing that's following the border of the screen in a rectangle as Garo's eyes move back and forth. That was like just epitome of laziness.
Yeah.
But I found some stuff on Twitter about this episode. Like JC staff had to outsource a bunch of animation to Studio LAN, which is I can't remember their nationality. Like they employ a lot of foreign animators. They exist in, damn, I'm sounding really uninformed right now, but I'm pretty sure they're like Korean or Vietnamese. They're not a Japanese studio.
Okay.
Might be Chinese. And they also employ a lot of foreign animators. So this is they're like a really ragtag kind of a motley crew of just like, people who work on like little short animated shorts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And JC staff were like, please help. And so they brought them on board to do a bunch of the animation in this episode. And it ended up looking pretty good. So maybe they should just outsource everything, and take on like a more organizational role. But it's too late.
It is way too late.
They're already so deep into the production at this point. I mean, hopefully most of it is done by this point, and they're not like scrambling to deliver the white box for every episode.
The white box?
Yeah, dude, Shirobako.
Oh, right. I don't remember what that is.
It's the completed product.
Oh, okay. Does it come in a white box?
Yes.
Okay.
Or it did back in the olden days when it was like a physical product that you had to deliver. Trying to be real slick with my references here.
Yep. And what was it? The four-eyed giant who left.
Yeah, Goketsu, right?
Yeah, that's right. who's just like way stronger than even the other guy.
Yeah, but Saitama's going to beat him up.
Well, he was not going to beat him up. He's going to hit him once, and it's going to be over.
Wouldn't you say that counts as a beating?
I mean, yes, but I thought it was interesting how.
Dude, my breath tastes like French onion dip, and it's gross.
Well, then next time, get nacho cheese sauce.
I should have done that.
Should have done that.
So much regret, and not just about this.
I liked the Nazi dude shows back up.
Oh yeah, dude, I hate his design in monster form.
Where he's just,
so
literally
shitty.
His shirt just turns into his skin.
Yeah, so terrible. And his lips, like just they draw those little lines to differentiate, his lips from the rest of his face.
And then he did like a Goku spirit bomb with his horns or something.
Yeah. But I can't remember who ends up beating him. It's Siryu like pulls off his horns, right? But
yes.
who defeats him?
Siryu does.
Oh, okay. Who?
Yeah, there's not too much to say about this episode because a lot of it was.
Well, I'm sure that
contained.
If we were like really hyped on the outcome of this whole monsters versus heroes war, we would have more stuff to talk about. But it was pretty straightforward. It was like the whole episode, since it was mostly contained in one location, it was mostly about like breaking Siryu's will,
right?
So that Saitama could come in and be like, "Don't worry, bro, I'm here to save you." And then in the little freeze frame at the end, Siryu can be seen in the background, like he's supposed to be lying down on the ground, but it just looks like a drawing of Siryu was like literally slapped on top of,
and then slanted sideways to be.
No,
on the
not
ground.
even slanted. That's the thing, and he doesn't even look like he's lying down on the ground. It just looks like an image of him.
Oh my gosh!
You go back and look at that freeze frame; it's right there.
Maybe it's on the screen right now. Who knows?
No, I picked a different screenshot.
I know, but I can
a better one.
I can pull other things. Anyways, speaking
Fruits basket.
Speaking of better ones than this show exist, and that show is Fruits Basket.
I wasn't that enthusiastic about this episode. Actually, I thought this might have been the shittiest episode so far.
I said better than this one is, and this is like the worst.
Oh. No, I would. Well, it's a close call. I don't know whether I preferred this episode or One Punch Man.
Some of the sound in One Punch Man was so bad.
It's just the style now.
The crows were attacking Siryu, and all of them were gunshots.
Oh, I forgot about the crows.
Like,
I was actually listening as this episode was going on for things that sounded like gunshots to me. Nothing sounded like an actual gunshot. It just sounded like simulated gunshots.
Well, they're just hyper. They're hyper edited. They don't sound like an actual gunshot. It's like a gunshot with 10,000 different effects on it. I heard it. I know what it sounds like, and it's literally the crows pecking at his skin didn't sound like big crows. It sounded like people shooting guns. It was just awful. You can do the super distorted style and still have good sound design. This is not that.
I see.
Anyways, on to flashback.
Dude, this episode just like, I just want to learn about the Soma clan. Like, the Soma clan's the interesting, mysterious part of the show, but everyone is just like, has a huge boner for tOhRu. Her two friends, the two Soma bros. I mean, everything seems to revolve around her. And then like the number of times that the guys thought to themselves, what's tOhRu doing right now? Is she okay? Oh man, I can't believe we left her alone. Let's go back. tOhRu, are you okay? And then they barge in just in time to wipe a single tear from her eye because she's alone on New Year's with the photo of her mother. Just kill me, dude. It was so repetitive. Like their internal monologue like about her and everything being about her and all the flashbacks to past events. And then the new shot introduced in this episode, like the sliding door, them closing the sliding door.
They did it like 4 times.
Yes. Like, God. It's 2019. You don't have to pad out your shit anymore like this. Like, get more freelancers. Just cram your shit full of like other people's art and storyboard out your episodes so that you're not just reusing a whole bunch of old cuts.
Well, you see, it's for a stylistic impact that
I don't know what the deal was, dude. I don't know if like in the manga it was kind of a recap chapter or a couple of recap chapters, or if they're just kind of taking this on an episode by episode basis at the same pace that the original series did. And so, I mean, because I've looked at the Wikipedia like list of episodes for both series, and they're roughly on pace with one another. But like, you don't necessarily have to go at that speed.
Well, if you're going to get like 6 seasons out of it, you do.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, this is the second adaptation, so you would figure that they could play it a little more fast and loose with this one, because the first one has already come and gone. But everyone says that this one they're trying to be like more faithful to the manga and more faithful to the author of the manga,
they're doing a Brotherhood,
who hated the first adaptation.
I would hate it if I was him too, or her. I don't know.
Man, I don't know. I thought this episode was lame.
There was one point in the episode
I'm ready to drop this,
where tOhRu says something and then turns around and closes a door, and then one of them has a flashback to what she just said when she closed the door.
Yeah.
It was 10 seconds prior, and there was a 8-second long flashback. Like, if that beyond using the same shot 4 times isn't laziness, I don't know what is.
I mean, anime just used to be like that all the time because animation is super expensive and super time consuming to produce. And
it's a lot cheaper now.
Probably, but that's the thing is they seem to be taking it at the same pace and using those same like cost cutting and time saving techniques that they would have had this been produced 20 years ago, as it once was.
Right.
But I'm like putting aside the form and the style of the episode, I also thought that it was just a mistake to focus on tOhRu so much when like the much more interesting like Zodiac banquet is apparently happening in some other part of town at the Suma estate, and we don't get to see that at all.
We get to see someone's dress and some crying ladies.
Who are the crying ladies?
Akito.
No, okay, you understand at this point that it's a guy, right? Akito is a boy.
Definitely a girl. Does that mean that rat dude is gay?
What? What are you talking about?
Because Akito is supposed to be waiting for him.
What are you saying?
The guy who's a rat?
Yeah, Kyo.
Yeah, Kyo. The whole time, they're like, because the cat, I just...
Yuki.
Don't care. Yuki is worried about upsetting the boar.
Kagura.
Right. And he keeps mentioning to the rat that he's going to upset Akito.
That Yuki is going to upset
Right, that Yuki's going to upset Akito. Like the whole time.
Yeah, if he doesn't show up.
Right.
Because Akito is manipulative and wants the entire family to stay together to the exclusion of outsiders. That doesn't have anything to do with his or her gender. And it is his. It's a man's name.
Subversion of expectation. I'm maintaining it's a girl.
Well, I'm ready to drop this, so...
I mean, I am too.
I guess we're never going to find out.
Nope.
Except for right after we stop recording when we're going to look it up and I can say I told you so.
Okay,
it's a boy's name in Japanese.
All right, whatever. Let's just talk about something interesting.
So what is that, Planetes?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on in these episodes.
But the best part is undoubtedly the conclusion, as with last week, where the end of episode 19, the conversation between Hachi and Changshin, where Hachi like completely burns that bridge. The end of episode 21, where it's the thing between him and Hakim. I was like, oh shit, this is so intense. Only this time there was the added tension of
guns and bombs.
Yes. I was like, this is awesome.
I thought you were going to say at the end when he's having that conversation with himself in a 22.
No. I mean, that was cool, but like it's interesting that he's, you know, his shadow self or whatever you want to call it is like kind of drowning out Tanabe's more optimistic view of things. And in the end, they're in that like little corridor of the hospital. I think he's still in the hospital at that point.
He is.
But to me, like that's an interesting concept. I don't mind it, but to me, it's much more interesting when it's two people like talking back and forth to one another. And Hakeem like floating towards him and being like, "You're not gonna pull that trigger, you bitch." Like
it's just like you don't have the guts.
Yeah,
you didn't have the guts to do it back then, and you don't now.
Yeah, but the coolest thing about it was like, you know, because Hakeem, we realized halfway through the episode that Hakeem is a terrorist,
right?
You know, and Hachi apparently recognized it very early on as well, just because he can tell that something has changed about him. And he was like looking to form a sort of partnership with him so they could both get on the Von Braun together, because he thought they were coming from the same place in terms of their desire to board it.
Right.
And that's part of why he's so pissed off, because he thought that Hakeem, like he's feeling totally alone. But then he thinks that, oh, Hakeem is like me. You know, I'm not alone. This guy may, you know, we may not be the best of chums, but at least there's someone here who shares my mentality, my motivation, someone who understands me. But it turns out he had him completely wrong. And so that's like
everyone had him wrong.
Another layer of betrayal. Dude, and then the part at the very end where Hakeem is like, you're just one of the fortunate few. You're one of the privileged.
Right.
I love, that's going to stick with me for so long, what Hachi says. You think you're the only miserable person on this earth, like, or in this world. You think you're the only one who's miserable. I'm miserable too. Like when he's like holding on to that little beam as the engine is like the tandem mirror engine. It's like it exploded and is like now sucking stuff in.
It's like, yeah, air is coming in.
So awesome. Like he just, in that moment, he's so frustrated. He's so like full of self-hatred and like hatred of Hakeem and his situation. He just admits to himself, like, yeah, you're not the only one, buddy. You know, it's my life. My life sucks too. I hate my situation too.
Like, even though I did this to myself, I still hate it.
Does he go that far?
He doesn't verbalize it, but it's pretty apparent. You know, everyone puts themselves in whatever situation they are. Especially,
well, that's not true at all.
Well, not everyone, but he put himself in the situation he's currently in.
Yeah, that's true.
He went for what he wanted and he got there and he's like, I'm still miserable.
Well, he hasn't gotten there yet, has he?
Well, I mean, no, but it's looking good for him.
I guess. I mean, his chances are definitely higher than Hakeem's. Hakeem is hiding out in Claire's apartment. Dude, episode 21, I was like, yes.
Fuck the man.
This is what I want, dude. Like, Hachi is becoming one of my favorite anime characters. He's so like conflicted and interesting.
Isn't this by someone who's done a bunch of other like really noteworthy anime, or no?
Well, this is based on a manga, but it's directed by Goro Taniguchi, who did Code Geass, which is definitely the biggest thing that Taniguchi has ever done. Everything that he's done after Geass has been a modest success or an outright failure. Like, he hasn't had another big hit. To me, Planetes is like by far his best and most interesting work.
Is Code Geass worth watching?
I would say yes, just because lots and lots of people love it. But it is very dumb, like extremely.
Like, it's not, this show is kind of brainy.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, as far as anime goes, at least. Geass is just like ridiculous, over the top for sure.
Gainaxi?
No, not at all.
Well, Gainax is ridiculous and over the top.
Yeah, but Gainax at least has like a fun and an energy to their work that Geass is just dumb. Like, if any part of it is fun, it's dumb fun.
Well, I like that.
I mean, yeah, I would say check it out. It's one of the most like popular, one of the biggest anime of the last 2 decades. But like on par with Death Note almost. They aired in the same time.
Oh wow, okay.
same year, same season, even. Anyways,
Back to Planetes. So, what was your take on the first time that the Von Braun exploded? Based on everything you saw from the episode.
It was an accident.
I think it was done on purpose by Locksmith.
At first I thought that as well. Because on one of the news broadcasts, they say, perhaps it was like overloaded in one particular place on purpose. But that didn't totally jive with the rest of my understanding of the broadcast, because like people are being led to believe that it was the Space Defense Front,
right,
who put that stuff on there. And in fact, that's what the debris team like hauls in is a piece of the tandem mirror engine with a couple of things of explosives on it that frame the SDF.
Yeah. But they're sent out there on purpose.
Yeah, by Colin.
Right.
Yeah,
and by, more accurately by like Into themselves, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that's the argument, or it kind of ties into the argument that Claire and Hakeem are making, like only first world nations, only the big players who are like paying into are going to see any benefit
from the Jupiter project.
Yeah, and that's what Into wants, is for public faith to be restored in the Jupiter mission.
Right. And if it looks like terrorists are after it, then people are going to be like, well, this must be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only was Locksmith like not an irresponsible piece of shit for allowing the explosion to happen, but yeah, terrorists are trying to stop this noble cause.
Right. But that conversation between Locksmith and Hachi's dad framed it for me that I was like, oh, well, Locksmith did this. Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think I came away from that conversation with the same.
It's like, so
idea.
What happened? He's like, well, it was a terrorist attack. At least that's as much as I'm allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's not suspicious.
Well, of course it's suspicious, but it just seemed to me like, why would he nuke his own thingamajig?
He needed to start over. It wasn't good enough. He knew it would fail in its current state.
Okay, well then just delay it.
When you have as many people breathing down his neck as he does, it's easier to start over than it is to delay a project. Because then you might have to admit that you were wrong about something.
Well, he doesn't start over though. That's the thing. He says like, oh, I'm at that big press conference where his character is kind of introduced, he says, I'm happy with the data that I got from this.
From the explosion.
Yeah.
Which means he could have planted it to see like, all right, in case of a critical failure, what happens? It's like,
I don't know. We don't have that much detail about it.
But we also have the conversation between Dolph and the dude from Into in the back of the limousine.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, why did you have them find this here? And it's like, well, and it's like, to be like this was an SDF attack, and it's like we can't risk anything happening with the Security Council meeting and the bill that's about to be passed about like space harmony or whatever.
I still don't understand like how any of this leads you to the concrete conclusion that
it's not
they did it on purpose. I'm pretty sure it was just a failure and they pushed it off on terrorists. Not they did it on purpose.
Well, not they. I think Locksmith did.
Why? I still don't understand why he would have done that.
Well, if he needed to. Because he's like, he strikes you as the man, and it's like he's willing to do anything to get it done. Even if he would have to start over.
But he still has a goal that he wants to reach, and blowing it up is going to hinder that goal more than just, making a whole bunch of modifications.
Maybe. I don't know. I still think it was purposeful. I don't think
there was a moment in the episode where I also thought, oh yeah, he actually caused the explosion. But then they kind of left that behind.
Okay.
In my mind.
I think they left it behind so that you wouldn't think about it too much. But
I see.
That's my theory. And I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, but I mean in the end they just, they blame the SDF.
Yeah. Cheng Shin's going off the rails.
Yeah, dude, I loved that conversation between he and Claire in the restaurant or the coffee bar or whatever it was.
Right. Where she's like actually truthful about how it's like what he thought about him the whole time.
Yeah. That was really interesting. Hear Claire go off like that.
Well, she's debris section now. She can do what she wants.
I guess. Well, not really, because she's got eyes on her. You know, right after that conversation, in fact, before it's even over, really, she gets picked up by the suits. Yeah. No, by
OSA.
The OSA. And I mean, it's pretty clear. If she hasn't been radicalized already by Hakeem, like the time is now because he's hiding out in her apartment, you know. But they use a lot of very similar language and talk about similar concepts in these episodes, you know. The line about like the fortunate few, they both use that exact terminology.
Right, but Claire mentions it more openly than Hakeem does. And the whole time Hakeem was part of the OSA, he was feeding the SDF information.
Yeah.
So, and Hakeem, you know, played like the model person. Like, you know, I work for the OSA, I work for, you know, like Space Environmentalists Group or whatever. You know, he volunteered at something that they mentioned. And just he looked perfect, whereas Claire doesn't from the outset because she has all this animosity. She got demoted because of trying to push for an Tanaka and stuff. Like that wouldn't make, you know, for the best like secret terrorist.
But the main reason she's brought in is because of her relationship with Hakeem.
Yeah, because
which now kind of explains those couple of episodes when all the characters were just hanging out like in the promenade. And we saw them kind of like stumble across each other a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't get a particular vibe from any of those scenes. Like not a romantic one, not a, hey, you want to be a terrorist one, nothing. But I mean, now I guess we understand what was actually taking place.
Right.
Like the show fills in the gaps for us. And I kind of think that like they talk the same way about, you know, the first world countries being the only ones who are going to see any benefit from the Jupiter mission. They use some of the same terminology.
Yeah.
You know, I think she's probably going to end up. I mean, that seems to be like her character arc right now, right? Where she started out like before the show starts, she was together with Hachi, and then that went awry. So, you know, she kind of focuses all of her effort and her passion into her work. And then she hits like, you know, the glass ceiling, so to speak.
Well, no. She takes on too much work and fails. Like it's her own fault.
No, that's the thing. I've been thinking about that. And that's the way it's explained. That's even the explanation that she herself has come to accept.
Right.
But, you know, we never get any sort of detail about those failures.
Actually, I mean, there are a couple times where she's got like reports and schedules and stuff she's supposed to bring in and she's missing deadlines left, right, and center. It happens multiple times.
Really? I kind of feel as though...
No, I remember.
I don't know, dude. Because she's not a central character, I don't feel as though her failings, like her job performance slipping, was made clear enough.
That's
possible, I mean, I do remember like one scene where she was supposed to turn in some paperwork and like, you know, a form was missing or something, and a clerk at a desk was like, "You need to get this form," and she'd say, "Oh, you know, I'm so sorry, I'll get it right away." That for me, like, I don't remember a scene where she was chewed out by her boss or just anything like that. A conversation she had with Dolph where Dolph was like, You got to take a break, you know.
She also lost her position when Dolph moved.
Right. That's the other thing is like I don't know. I feel like her slipping job performance was more along the lines of, you know, Dolph is out of here now. Let's clean
people
house.
Who are loyal to him.
Yeah. I don't think this is her fault really, and perhaps that's why she's carrying around so much resentment. And the scene with her and Hachi was really great too, where she drops the bomb that she's Hakeem's girlfriend. And as she's walking away, she mutters under her breath, like people are always like hiding their actual feelings. No one's ever truthful or straightforward. She's obviously referring to Hachi. He can't, when they were together, I guess he couldn't totally commit to her the same way that he can't to Tanabe right now, because he's just too single-minded and, not sensitive enough, I guess, to other people's needs or desires. He just thinks about himself.
And there's more to that as well. I mean, at the end of episode 22, and I guess we'll get to the middle of it in a second, but the conversation he has with Tanabe when he, at the end of it, he rationalizes talking to his other self, that it's like, it's like my fears, my failures, and my pain and everything it's all for me.
Right.
It almost seems like he's afraid to give it to someone else and let somebody else suffer because of it, because of what his dad did, what he saw his mom go through when his dad was away constantly, and he was constantly sharing his fears and failures with her, and she was left to be stuck and suffer with them almost alone. Right.
And that's the other thing, the message that he gets from Gigalt. And I love the way that episode 22 opens with Gigalt Sensei practically on his deathbed being like hounded by the OSA, the organization that he gave his life to and developed cancer because of his service for. Now they're like, he's at death's door and they're banging on it saying, what you've given us isn't enough. Give us more, old man. Serve your company with your last breath. And he's thinking to himself, like he's regretting, essentially, indirectly, he's regretting his association with Hakim, because he's thinking to himself, why could I never give him a nickname?
Right.
I knew something was up. Something was different about him. Why couldn't I give him a nickname? He's really thinking to himself and not allowing himself to like internally verbalize is, how could I have let this happen?
Right. And I think that's pretty apparent.
Yeah. So then he passes away. Of course, we don't see it because we need to discover it as Hachi discovers it.
Right.
For the wound to be as devastating as it needs to be. And the last like bit of advice that he passes on to him is a ship needs a harbor.
Right.
But that's the thing. Like he can't let somebody be his harbor because he's too selfish and he's too afraid of becoming his father. And so like this second father who he loves, Gigalt, his last instruction to him, he can't follow because he's already gotten so twisted up, trying not to be his actual father. And that's just one more, layer of suffering on the Hachimaki cake.
He's not having a good time, is he?
No, that's why I'm so interested in his character. Like a lot of people, there's in anime, there is like a lot of suffering, quote unquote suffering, like, series like Madoka Magica, ReZero, even Evangelion, like kind of psychological series where characters are kind of tormented by their circumstances or what have you. A lot of people love shows that are about like lay suffering, but sometimes it's more about spectacle than it is about like real human trauma and pain. And that's what people are attracted to, like the more superficial, like, oh man, look how much this character's life sucks. Like this is such a dark situation for them that the show has manufactured. But in Planetes, it feels like this guy's entire life has just been like a wasteland. He's not receiving any of like the love, the support that he would need to get out of this. He's just stuck in a terrible
he is, but
cycle.
He's refusing it.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that I feel as though he's gone too far down a path of selfishness and like blindness. That now what he has, like the loneliness, and remember how he keeps thinking to himself, like his shadow self is saying, like there's just that cold, dark, and empty space between you and everyone else.
Right.
That's like in his mind, that's all he has now is that space. And he wants to claim that as his. So he can't let anyone else in. Like, it's not just that he's afraid of hurting other people. He wants that isolation and that,
because it's all he knows. And if you lose that,
if he loses that, then
like,
his
what am I?
image of himself as like this tortured
it
soul,
breaks.
Yeah,
and he doesn't know who he is anymore.
Yeah. So I think his character is just crazily well written, and not just that. I think that the plotting of the series has been really good. Like the way that it brings characters in and out of focus to impact Hachi's life to bring him to where he is now. You know, like the spatial loss disorder that he had to deal with, the news. And dude, they finally dropped the bomb about Tanabe knowing about Gigalt's his cancer and not telling Hachi. And now he's like, oh, this bitch.
Why you do this?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude.
I just feel bad for Tanabe.
Yeah.
She's gotten a pretty shit sandwich too.
Yeah, well, she's kind of hitched herself to a guy who's probably not very good for her.
Not yet.
I don't.
There's still 4 episodes of redemption left.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I can't remember. That's the most exciting thing, is that I don't remember what happens. Like, the show has already deviated from my memories of it. You know how the ninjas died?
Yeah.
In the tandem mirror explosion.
Yeah.
My memory was that like the final arc was all about the ninjas dying. For some reason, that's what I thought.
Well,
yeah, but he just learns. I mean, the whole reason that he goes back to their place is because I think on some level he wants to see Tanabe.
Yeah.
And she lived there briefly with them for a while. And so he just wants to go back to, the place where she once was, to connect with her somehow without seeing her.
And he's like, what am I expecting to gain from this? And then runs into the dude who's looting their stuff and selling it.
Yeah.
We actually see, like,
and he learns that they're already dead, but like I didn't remember it that way. For whatever reason, I thought it was different. Anyways,
we actually see the guy like trying to sell it to somebody, and then the dude just mugs him and takes all his stuff.
We didn't see it get that far.
No, I mean,
he just rebuffs his attempts to sell him stuff.
Right, but he like holds him by his shirt collar, like up against a wall, and I can just assume he's gonna take his shit.
Maybe. Yeah. When exactly did we see that? It was like part of a short montage.
I don't remember what it was over. But yeah, I really like these episodes.
Pretty good, man.
The last 4 have just been outstanding.
Yeah, I agree.
The show actually feel like some shows when they're getting towards the end don't really feel like they're hitting a climax, and this really does. Like, it just keeps ramping up, and I think this is probably the climax for Hachi's character. Is Gigalt's death. I think that's the peak of it.
Oh yeah.
Hakim's betrayal.
Yeah.
Gigalt's
For me, it was Hakim's betrayal.
Hakim's betrayal, Gigalt's death. Like those are the 2 like big events.
Yeah, I mean, where does he go from here? He hasn't actually made it onto the Von Braun yet, right?
No, he hasn't.
There's still another phase of testing, I think.
They're in the last phase of testing, the 3rd phase.
But I mean, the reason I say there's one more to go is because he spends all his time on the moon in episode 22.
Yeah, but that's because of the Hakim incident, and they're like interviewing him, and the OSA is like keeping him there until everything like smooths over or whatever.
Right.
But the 3rd phase is the last phase because they're on the ship, and Locksmith says, so if I think you're doing well enough, I'll give you the card that gets you everywhere on the ship.
Right.
Which makes me think that phase 3 is the last one. It's 6 months long. It's like, for 6 months you will be living here and performing what would essentially be your job and learning the ship. And it's like, and I'll be selecting you from here because we're watching you all the time.
Tell me who's watching.
I also really loved the scene where Hakim is setting all the explosions. That whole scene when he's like flying around and like placing everything.
Yeah.
They really got, like, for the audio, the sense of space.
Yeah.
For how big that, like, capsule and everything is. And when the room is so silent, there's nothing going on. He places one thing down. And that really long echo just goes on.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm like, that's good. It's like, I like that shit.
Yeah, it definitely, it was atmospheric for sure.
Well, that's what it would sound like, too.
It gives you the sense of, like, nobody being there.
Yeah.
You know, him being completely alone. So then when Hachi does appear behind him, it's like, what?
And their conversation
What's the sound?
is still also, like, their conversation has, like, a huge echo behind it and stuff, which just, they really nailed, like, the space. There's a lot of things that this show does.
Yeah, Taniguchi is all about
really
that sci-fi
well.
stuff. He did Infinite Revias before this, which is about a bunch of kids on a spaceship adrift in the solar system with no adults. It's like Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies in space.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how people describe it. There's that. There's this.
Is that show any good?
Infinite Revias?
Yeah. Do you remember?
Yeah, I watched it kind of recently, and it was pretty good. I lost my patience with it a couple times, but I did make it to the end. I would say that's the kind of show where people watch it for lay suffering, you know, because the kids are all like, you know, eventually they get to the point where they start to they divide up into factions. They start killing each other off because like resource scarcity becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And you know, the kids, one of the girls like gets pregnant, and there's a whole bunch of other complications.
Lay suffering.
Yeah, and they're all like, by the end they're all like losing their minds. A bunch of them are like crying all the time. Gets pretty wild,
intense, as some would say.
I mean, I think it's worth a try at least.
Okay.
And
I tried.
Geass definitely I would try, just because of its place in anime. It's like
tried
one of the big mecha series of the 2000s.
Yeah. I tried 2 different shows on Netflix, and they were
Netflix. I just had a net floorgasm.
The 2 shows I watched were just the shittiest pieces of shit that have ever been shit out by people.
What shows were these?
One of them was Sword Guy.
Oh yeah, I heard that was legendarily bad.
It was. I only watched the first episode of both of these because they were just so.
What was the other one?
Absolutely, I don't remember, but it was the shittiest ripoff of Eva I've ever seen.
Ripoff of Eva?
Because it's like some like
revisions.
Revisions.
Is that what it was called?
I think so.
Yeah.
Some race of like golems or whatever comes out, and they're like, "Oh no, I'm being attacked by bad CG," because the robots just look terrible.
Is that the one with the main character who, like, his classmates are dying and he doesn't really care? He's just excited to.
No,
opportunity.
It's not that.
Oh,
it's something. I can pull up the title. Is there any other shows you've been watching recently that are any good, like for your other podcast?
Yeah, dude, I watch tons of anime, and like some of it is actually quite good.
Some of it is good. Can you believe that? Some anime is good, folks. You heard it here first.
I mean, Planetes keeps going like this. It might get a spot on my. If it finishes strong, it might get a spot on my favorite anime list. Very, very big deal. Very prestigious. Yes.
Kurumukuri.
Is it Kurumukuro?
Kurumukuro. So yeah, I can't.
I actually did not think that Kurumukuro was terrible. I only watched 3 episodes.
I watched the first episode and I was just like, this is awful.
It's the one where the main character is a girl.
Yeah.
And her dad is some kind of science.
Her mom works for.
Oh, her mom is the science
Her
bro.
mom works for NERV in quotations.
Right. And there's a naked samurai guy.
Yeah, he comes out of like a black cube.
Yeah. I mean, I don't intend to ever watch any more of that series, but after 3 episodes, I was like, okay, this is fine.
You're fine. You've seen so much worse anime than I have, that stuff that's just bad, that I think is bad, you're like, yeah, that's fine. That's just normal anime.
I guess. Yeah, there's hundreds of series that I've never finished and never will.
Well, I can add 2 more to mine.
Yeah.
Actually 3, because we're not watching Fruits Basket anymore.
Yeah. So what do you want to do about that?
Do you want to replace it with something? Or
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was thinking of ending the podcast after this season.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't really want to keep going and going with it. So
unless there's something you actually want to watch.
no, I mean, not even then, honestly.
Okay.
I think getting to 50 is like a good stopping point, which is where we're going to be, after the end of this season.
Okay.
50 is a lot.
It is. Your other podcast is on like what?
It's past 50, but not by very much. Anyways, so what I was thinking was we might do like Kimetsu no Yaiba, that Demon Slayer shonen thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, since we already watched the first episode, we might do like, let's say 3 episodes of it next week.
Okay.
And if we like it, do 3 more until we get caught up, something like that.
Sure. I thought it was pretty good. I remember it got my vote.
Yeah. I thought it was trash, but people have been saying a lot of nice things about it in the, the circles
on the
that
blogosphere.
Yeah, kind of. So, I mean, honestly, I would much rather watch something like Sarasanmai or Hitoribochi, but I don't know how into those you would be. So we could try Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, for a few episodes and see if we like it or not.
See if it's any good.
Yeah, I don't want to watch Fruits Basket anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't either. It's kind of a chore to watch.
Yeah.
So that's it for this week. Tune in next week for more
More anime.
I was gonna say more JC staff, Bones. Whoever did Planet Taste, which I think I found was Sunrise.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then whoever's doing Kimetsu no Yaiba.
I don't know how you say it. UFO table, Ufotable. I don't know how to
I like
pronounce
UFO table better. That's a more interesting name than Ufotable.
That's how you spell it. UFO table, all one word.
Well, it probably
They have a very distinctive style.
I liked it. I thought the animation was good.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see if the story is able to rise above just being
serviceable.
Dumb,
serviceable. What's the difference to the general population of anime listeners? Anyways, thanks for being with us. And
thanks, guys. Thanks a million.
Thanks for liking and subscribing.